Good evening and welcome to the National Sim Racing Gen 4 Cup Series presented by IRD Racing. We're here tonight for the second round of the second season of the year 2026 here in the National Sim Racing Gen 4 Cup Series with a race at Lucas Oil Indianapolis Raceway Park, also mostly known as IRP. I'm your host, Garrett Hess. Glad to have you here on Fireball Talks NASCAR, and we have practice just getting wrapped up and getting qualifying underway here at IRP. Tough little track. This is progressive banking on a almost flat track here, and you're going to see some unconventional lines. This is a very well-made track to where you can run pretty much any line depending on your driving style. And we're gonna see who drives what line. The outside line is going to be the fastest way around, I believe, with cutting the corner off on exit, to try and shorten the way around and straighten out the exit. Because if you run higher up, there's more banking, so you get a larger run off. As we look at defending champion Tony Kurgel, car number 13. You can see him get close to the wall in the center of the corner and kind of point it down in the center of the corner to try to straighten out that exit just a little bit. He's not going all the way to the yellow line, which I would have thought that people were would be running. There we go. Got the ticker software working. But fastest lap for Tony Kurgel as he sets his flying lap, a 21.884 fastest lap for car number 13. That will put him on pole for right now. Let's see who else is setting some laps. Brian Wiggins was the fastest in practice here, currently setting a 21.901 here. So about 100th off of the leader, trying to get a good drive out of turn 2 by using that center lane and not going as close to the wall to try and shorten up the corner a little bit. On exit, a 21.871 for Brian Wiggins. That's good enough for a pole by just over 100th of a second. Let's see who else is getting some laps in. Andy Reeves in car number 18. A 23.3, about a second and a half off of pole. Let's see if he has a better lap this time by. You see him entering lower and then drifting up the track, sort of like Darlington with this line. As, whoa, big loose moment to save it. Ooh, hits the wall. But, so yeah, his lap time is not going to count. So he will be lining up in the 12th position. Jason Crumley coming across the line to set a 22.601. Looks like that's good enough for 11th for the time being. And it looks like everyone has run the laps. As I was just about to say that, Adam DeFore pulls out on track, car number 5. Looking to get a good result here to follow up his strong, I believe he was in contention for the championship last season, to back up that strong season run last season. Gonna start off by running the middle for his first lap. Might try to get real close to the wall and get a straight shot on exit for his flying lap. Ooh, big sideways moment for car number 5. Yeah, he's going to try to get that thing. Whoa, that car is all sorts of loose. Slides sideways. He might be able to reset the car and get another lap in, but it looks like he's not going to elect to do that. This is definitely going to be a slower lap since he's not up to full speed. running that center line right above that that first set of dotted lines, or dash lines, I should say. Going to try to cut down a little bit to that seam in the middle of the track and then track out. He's going to set a 22.572, so that's good enough for 11th, but definitely not the lap time that he was looking for. And that that concludes everyone's qualifying efforts here at IRP. So it's going to be Brian Wiggins on pole in car number 3 for tonight's event. Warm-up just about to get underway, so drivers can feel out what their setups are going to be like in a race environment. But time to give a quick little shout out to our series sponsor, IRD Racing, out of Florida, an industry leader in fuel injection technology, especially in the industry of carburetors. IRD Racing is a highly respected name in all sorts of racing, from drag racing to circle track racing to even road racing. So big players in the fuel injection scene, and definitely a company that is great to work with owing to their flawless track record. So if you want to take your real-world racing program to the next level, especially in the field of fuel injection, then visit IRD Racing. There's a reason why people call them the king of carburetors. Very happy to have them on our broadcast as our sponsor, allowing to make this possible. And John Bittler, coming off a very strong 4th place run at Talladega, led a lot of the race last week. Was pretty fast in practice. I believe he was 4th fastest in practice, and ever since teaming up with Mark Sikoshi and Mark Sikoshi Incorporated, they have, or John Bittler himself has really been a force to be reckoned with here in National Sim Racing. Finally got his feet under him, and he's able to keep up with a lot of the field here, and definitely someone to watch. Robert Wiggins in car 26 with a new paint scheme. Normally he's in a like a red, white, and black paint scheme. This one is a mostly matte black paint job with a chrome bolt on the side, and right in front of him is someone making his first start in National Sim Racing. Elijah Grant, part of the Texas Scumbags, recently joined National Sim Racing, I believe last week after Talladega, and looking forward to see what he can do in his first start here in this highly competitive league that is quite unique. It's not like any other league. It is an open Gen 4 Cup league, when a lot of the Gen 4 leagues on iRacing are fixed. Someone making their first start of the season is the 31 of James Young. NSR fans will recognize that name as driver of the 69, but he has switched to car number 31 for this season, sporting a Robbie Gordon singular livery, looking very fresh out on track. See, Jonathan Flournoy had a less than stellar start to his debut at Talladega last week, looking to improve upon it. Currently 7th in warm-up at the moment, and the fastest to set a warm-up time right now is that 8 car of Mark Sikoshi. Worked very well with his teammate John Bittler at Talladega last season, and was the runner-up last season in the season in the point standings. So very excited to see what he can do what he can do this season, and especially at a track like this, IRP, which seems to favor Mr. Sikochi, since he's very good at tracks where you have to run a higher line than the inside. But not far behind in the warm-up standings is Tony Kurgel, last season's champion, only about a 10th behind Sikochi in warm-up times. And Kurgel is a very fast and also very consistent driver as well, so he's always a threat to be in contention for the win. And last week's winner, number 29, Ray Partridge, currently 4th in warm-ups, trying to get a little bit more speed out of that car, maybe to try and back up his race-winning performance last week at Talladega. So warm-ups coming to a close, and in just a brief amount of time, we can get your starting lineup for tonight's event. I believe we have 15 cars for tonight's event here at Indianapolis Raceway Park for the Kroger 400 for a 200-lap tilt here at IRP. Going to be a lot of fun here in the Gen 4 cars. But without further ado, let's get your starting lineup up on the screen. Starting on pole, it's going to be car 3, Brian Wiggins. And on his outside is going to be the Ford and last season's champion of Tony Kurgel. Starting on the inside of row number 2, and third is going to be Mark Sikochi in car number 8. On his outside is going to be series sponsor John Bittler in car 88. Rounding out your top 5 is going to be the 59 of Justin Cope, looking to showcase his long run speed here. Very good at that. And on his outside is going to be last week's winner, Ray Partridge in car 29. In 7th, in the inside of row number 4, is going to be car number 4. It's going to be Elijah Grant, and on his outside is going to be the 31 of James Young. Inside of row number 5 is going to be the 26 of Robert Wiggins. On his outside is going to be the 56 of Chris Norris, rounding out your top 10. First car outside of the top 10 is going to be the 5 of Adam DeFore, starting further back than he'd like, so he has a little bit of work to do to get back to the front. And on his outside is going to be the 28 of Jason Crumley. Andy Reeves and Jonathan Flournoy, cars 18 and 02 in their first season in National Sim Racing, looking to make an impact tonight. And rounding out your field of 14 cars is Dylan Lansdale and Kyle Mitchell, who I believe are going to be officiating this race. So they have not started. So this time by, we will be going green flag racing, and it's going to be Brian Wiggins leading everyone to the green flag here. Wiggins historically has shown a lot of speed in National Sim Racing, but it has not been going his way a lot of times. Lots of wrecks that he had no part in creating, that he got involved in. And looking to make a statement tonight, that number 3 car is. But pace car is in, waiting for the green flag to drop. It's going to be Brian Wiggins leading the field to the green flag of the Kroger 400 here at Indianapolis Raceway Park. Green flag is out. Kurgel with a great start. He's going to stay alongside Wiggins, but Wiggins going to use all the way on the bottom to try and slide up in front of Kurgel. Going to get clear of that 13 car. Sikochi's going to get clear of Bittler as he moves into the 3rd spot. Justin Cope running a lower line. Everyone in front of him got right to the back end of Bittler in car 59. And, a little bit of a wall tap right in front of Partridge. To see Elijah Grant making his first NSR passes. Whoa, we see James Young go around in the back. Saves it with a little bit of help from the wall. It looks like Robert Wiggins got into him and sent him sideways, but both drivers continue soldiering on. The good thing about IRP is that the speeds here are relatively low. As well, we see Crumley and Wiggins getting into it together while I was going to the 26 car, and that brings out the caution. So this is a good opportunity to go to standby to see what happened between cars 26 and 28. And while we're under standby, it looks like the 31 was sent to the pits for connection issues. So James Young not off to a good comeback tour for what he's trying to have a bounce back season here. But currently looking at Robert Wiggins, you can see Jason Crumley on his inside. Wiggins running above that seam, and I think Crumley's coming up a little bit, but Wiggins is also coming down. I would say this is a lot more of a racing incident or the same piece of real estate. Wiggins is trying to come down and try to cut off that corner a little bit, and Crumley's trying to get as big of a run on exit as he can, and just both of them intersected and met at the same clipping point. But no real damage to either one of these race cars. So even if it brought out a caution, there is still 196 laps of racing left to sort that out here. But currently looking at Brian Wiggins, and I think that this is going to be a very strong race for him if he can keep the tires on it. Gonna have, looks like 2 to go here, so 2 to green. But yeah, I think Wiggins, the key for him winning this is to keep that 13 car keep that 13 car behind you, and if he tries to make it pass, force him on the inside. Because I don't know how good Tony Kurgel will be if he's forced below that first set of dashed white lines, because that's a lot less banking, and you can really power by on the outside here at IRP. In fact, the high line is the preferred passing line. But you can make a pass on any line here at IRP. And with enough skill and technique, you can make it work. That's a great thing. Any line is possible here at IRP. We're going to have a single file restart. So it's pretty imperative that Wiggins gets a good start here, because getting locked side by side with someone IRP is very common, and it will both eat up your tires and bring the people behind you a lot closer to you. But pace car is in, and it's going to be Brian Wiggins leading the field to the green flag for the first restart of the Kroger 400 on lap 7, coming on lap 8. Wiggins bringing it down the track just a little bit. Green flag is out. Wiggins with a good restart. A little bit of a stack up behind. But with this single file racing, that's kind of bound to happen. Wiggins with a good start. Kurgel all over his back bumper. Mostly single file racing here as they all collect into turn 3. Everyone running that middle lane. You can see Justin Cope running a little bit higher up, as he has the 29 of Ray Partridge right behind him to deal with. Partridge trying to get a run on that inside. We can see Adam DeFore in the back making a move on Elijah Grant, but not able to have the speed on entry. But he has a lot more corner speed. He's going to pull up alongside that 4 car on exit. A little bit of a loose moment for car number 5. But new fastest lap from car number 13. That's Tony Kurgel trying to work on that 3 car in front of him for the lead. New fastest lap for Tony Kurgel on lap number 9 with a 22.005. Very calm, collected racing right now, as we see Wiggins trying to use that banking on the high side to try and build as much of a run as possible. Kurgel pretty committed to running the middle of the track, using the seam a little bit to help him turn, it seems. Yeah, Wiggins is going to that second set of dashed lines, trying to get as much of a run on exit as he can. Further in the back, we had a battle for 12th between Robert Wiggins and Jonathan Flournoy. Looks like that just concluded with Flournoy getting passed by Wiggins. Adam DeFore still working on the 4 car of Elijah Grant right in front of him. And right in front of them, Ray Partridge is all over the back end of Justin Cope, trying to find a way around that number 59 Ford, as he's going to try a pass using all the flat banking on the inside. But with that banking in the center and top, Justin Cope's going to have a better run, going to get a better turn on exit. Ooh, Partridge overdrives the corner entry a little bit, something that's very easy to do here at IRP, and grazes the wall for the lead. Tony Kurgel all over the back end of Brian Wiggins, but not able to pull alongside him just yet. But that 13 car is putting on a lot of pressure to the back end of car number 3. Looks like they're pretty evenly matched in terms of pace. So this might be a battle that drags out throughout the entire race, as side-by-side action for 7th, the 4 to the inside of Elijah Grant. Gonna try to make the move stick, and he gets it to work. I think Grant let him by when DeFore picked up the throttle quite heavily in the center of the corner. It's like Elijah Grant just trying to get a feel for this field, which is something very sensible for a person making their debut. Flournoy and Crumley going at it for the 10th position. Flournoy running all the way on the bottom with the least amount of banking. Gonna make the move stick on Crumley, who's not able to get the run off the top. So Flournoy trying to defend a top 10 as best he can. He's doing a good job at it, pulling away from that 28 car. Back towards the front. Even if about 5 laps has passed, the story has stayed the same for Tony Kurgel and Brian Wiggins, both locked about 2.5 tenths behind each other here, as they now navigate the lapped car of James Young. 8 laps down, went lapped due to connection issues. And now Wiggins having to run a line that he's not very familiar with towards the bottom. Kurgel going to try to sneak to the outside. Wiggins shuts the door in his face. And now Wiggins back to the lane that he normally runs, right in the middle, trying to cut down on exit now to try and pull away from that 13 car. That 13 car seems to be pretty loose on exit, but that thing's got some great turn in the center of the corner, which is probably, in all fairness, attributing to that looseness on exit with how well it's turning. But for the 4th position, Justin Cope and John Bittler doing battle. Bittler on the top, Cope on his quarter panel, almost made contact with car 88. And this is bringing Partridge into the equation. Cope going to cut it down beneath Bittler. Had a swerve to avoid that 88 car. And now side by side through 3 and 4, about dead even on exit. Bittler's going to have the run off, it seems, since he has the higher banking to work with. But Cope's going to take the shorter way around here. And this is what I mean by when you battle, the cars behind you get sucked up to you, because now Adam DeFore is in the picture when these guys are battling. And for a frame of reference, these guys are going about 3/10 slower battling each other per lap than Mark Sikoshi is racing by himself, and they are still battling. Partridge are looking to make this a 3-way battle for 4th place. Bittler now having to worry about that 29 car as Justin Cope is able to slide on by. Bittler trying to use all that extra banking up top. Partridge more than happy to run that bottom, and you can see just how much this has brought Adam DeFore into the situation, because when they were first battling, DeFore was at the very top of the shot, and now he's only 2/10 behind these drivers. The question is, where does DeFore go? Looks like he's going to try to make a move on that 88 car. He seems to be struggling with center corner speed. Using that high line, going to move back towards the middle here and try and stem the bleeding, as he's lost 2 positions in just a couple of laps. But that's what happens here at IRP. You don't tend to lose just one position. You tend to lose chunks of positions because you're battling with someone for so long. It drags the cars behind you closer to you. But back towards the front, Brian Wiggins has opened up a pretty impressive lead to Tony Kerschel, who seems to be having rear grip issues. That car is sliding around a lot on exit, and that might require a pit stop adjustment when they come into pit, as he's starting to lose time to Mark Sikoshi in car 8 right behind him. As Sikoshi's by and large running the same line as Kerschel, but is not sliding around as much, so those rear tires are not being nearly as abused as Kerschel's are, and he's going to be able to have more long run speed down the stretch. But we're only 30 laps into this 200 lap event. We got a lot of time before anything interesting happens in terms of tires. But Adam DeFore able to get around John Bittler. So John Bittler has slid back to 7th now and is going to be trying to hang on, maybe try and make a pit stop adjustment when they get into pit lane to see what they can do to make that car faster, because that thing was bad fast at Talladega and was a true contender for the win. As we look at Mark Sikoshi in 3rd, still hounding the back end of Tony Kerschel, and both these drivers about 1.3 seconds behind Brian Wiggins. So Wiggins is really starting to pull away, and this is a pretty bad scenario for Tony Kerschel, because the car in front is getting smaller and the car behind is getting a lot bigger. As Kerschel runs really high into the corner, Sikoshi going to try to cut down through the middle to the bottom, going to try to get the move made. Kerschel sticking to his quarter panel here. Side by side into turn 3. Sikoshi should be able to make this stick, but Kerschel's going to fight back on the outside. Sikoshi is going to clear that 13 car and assume the 2nd place here as they work around the lap car of Chris Norris in car 56. Even while they were battling, they actually gained time on Brian Wiggins, as we look at Adam DeFore making a move on Ray Partridge for the 5th position. So DeFore had a pretty poor qualifying run, but is starting to get back to where he normally runs. Scrapes the wall a little bit, but able to keep it ahead of Partridge. And he's starting to set some pretty good lap times. That 5 car is. He would definitely appreciate a caution or something to bunch this field up so he can have a go at it from the 5th position. But everything that's been said and done so far, he's showing a pretty solid drive through the field. Going further back, John Bittler now having to deal with the 18 of Andy Reeves filling up his rear view mirror. As Reeves hounding the back end of car number 88, Chevy on Chevy action here, as it looks like Bittler is taking a much more shallow entry than Reeves is. Reeves entering high and staying high, while it looks like Bittler's trying to enter low and slide up. But Reeves keeping about 3/10 behind Bittler for the time being. But something interesting something interesting to note is that for the lead, Mark Sikoshi has really caught up to Brian Wiggins. Sikoshi last time by 200ths faster than the leader, and maybe trying to put some pressure on the back end of car number 3. That 8 car is bad fast this weekend, and was slightly slower last time by than Wiggins. But whoa, that a loose moment from Wiggins is going to bring him into pit lane on lap number 40. So first car into pit lane, it's going to be Brian Wiggins and John Bittler diving into pit lane. So Mark Sikoshi going to stay out. Same with Kurgel, Cope, and DeFore. So maybe Wiggins was starting to get really loose and brought it in to put a new set of tires on it. Just got into pit lane. But theoretically speaking, the fuel should last until more than halfway. As we see Sikoshi scrape the wall a little bit. But like I was saying, the fuel should last till more than halfway, I'd presume. So maybe this is a tire call. He's burnt the rears too much on that number 29 car. Or not that 29, on that number 3 car, sorry. They look very familiar, running the same paint scheme. And brought it into pit lane to get that rear grip back. As he's pulled out ahead of Elijah Grant and Jonathan Flournoy, as Flournoy scrapes the wall a little bit. But let's see what times he's setting on new tires. Whoa, he got loose on entry, had to chase it up the track. Let's see what times he's setting right behind Jason Crumley. 22.817 for Brian Wiggins. But I think as those tires come up to temp, it's going to be a lot faster than Sikoshi, who's on 45-lap-old tires. Battle for 8th right now between Robert Wiggins and Elijah Grant. Grant going to try to sling it up the outside in that 4 car on the outside of the 26. Can he get a run off the corner? Looks like it's not going to be able to form for car number 4, as it looks like he has a little bit of right front damage. That might be tightening up the car a little bit more than he'd like. Because if you bang up that right front, that car can definitely get a heck of a lot tighter when the wheel gets pushed inwards. For 6th, I should say, Flournoy hounding the back end of Andy Reeves. Flournoy showing some late run speed here in that 0-2 long run pace up. Granted, he would have to get around the 18 of Reeves to do so, but it would not. But with how loose that 18 is getting on exit, it should not be too hard, as Flournoy making the move on car 18, trying to use the bottom, throw a slider on Reeves, and he's going to make it stick. A car a little bit squirrely down the straight, but he's able to get it corralled before turn 1 and able to start working on putting a gap between him and car number 18. So Sikoshi, still the leader, has a 2.5-second gap over Tony Kurgel. And Tony Kurgel's got to look in his mirror because he's got the 59 of Cope right behind him, challenging for that second place position. Cope running the bottom, Kurgel running the top here. So many lines you can choose from on IRP. It's one of the best short tracks for pure racing here on iRacing. As you can see, Cope getting a big run through the center, going to close up the gap just a little bit more, even if Kurgel seems to be pulling away on exit. It's just that Cope makes up so much time in the center of the corners. You can see they were side by side for a moment. That's how much time Cope's making up in the center by taking the shortest way around. So Cope trying to use that flat inside to his advantage, Still not able to pull side by side with Kergel just yet, but he is really keeping Kergel honest here, as that 13 car seems to just be dastardly loose on exit, and that's playing into Justin Cope's favor, because a car that is loose in the center or that is loose on exit, it's not going to have as much center corner speed, because you're fighting for grip. As you can see, they're about dead even in the center of the corner, and they're going to be side by side on exit. Kergel scrapes the wall a little bit. Cope's going to try and make the slider work, but Kergel's all the way on the outside, not going to be able to perform any sort of slider. Has to get out of the gas just a little bit, and that's going to allow Kergel to pull dead even with the 59 car. Now the 59 going to try a ambitious move on the inside, going to try to slide up in front of the 13. Can the 13 cross him over using the run off the top? It looks like it's not going to be able to happen. So Justin Cope moving his way into the second position. That battling might catch up with him, because Sikoshi has just gone around lap traffic. He just passed the 26 of Wiggins, and he's gonna be in pretty clean track conditions in front of him. He doesn't have another car in front of him for a little bit, but I mean, last time by, Cope set a time that was half a second faster than Sikoshi, but Sikoshi was also dealing with the 26 of Robert Wiggins. So let's see, in his first lap without hindrance, 22.7 for Sikoshi, so about a tenth slower on a clean track than Cope. Cope ran about a tenth and a half slower than Sikoshi, getting around the 4 of Elijah Grant, and already on lap 57, cars up to 7th have been lapped. The last car on the lead lap is the one you're looking at right now, the 18 of Andy Reeves, who's seeing that 8 car behind him get larger and larger in his mirror. But I think that the distance is probably going to average out around 2.8 seconds when Cope gets around Wiggins. But he's also got the faster, or not really the faster car, the 88 of Bittler coming out right behind him on completely fresh tires. And this was surprising, because something must have happened to John Bittler, because he had an almost 7-minute long pit time. And he's coming out 19 laps down, as we had 3 wide for a second, with Elijah Grant trying to let Brian Wiggins and Tony Kergel by. So Wiggins is going to assume the 9th position. And he's the fastest car on new tires. Definitely a very interesting strategy to take for that 3 car to pit so early. But you can see the difference it's making, as he's able to get around Kergel on 60-lap tires with relative ease, as Robert Wiggins finally dives into pit lane in car number 26. So we might have a second cycle of green flag pit stops within the first round of green flag pit stops happening. But it's all going to be up to when Mark Sikoshi decides it's time to come in. Justin Cope currently dealing with John Bittler. Cope's going to let Bittler by. But this might be a thorn in Cope's side if he's faster and the tires start to wear on that 88 car. But for the time being, Bittler pulling away from Cope. Currently just running his own race for the time being. As whoa, evasive action from Bittler as Chris North dives into pit lane. And that's going to give 8th to Brian Wiggins. And he's going to try to get alongside Andy Reeves. for the 7th position. So a 2-for-1 special for Brian Wiggins, as he's going to go from 9th to 7th with that move. Tony Kurgel continuing to slide backwards. Now Adam DeFore looking to pounce on that 13 car. About 3/10 separating cars 5 and 13. And I think at any moment, DeFore might be able to sneak past that 13 car, especially if Kurgel continues his trend of getting loose on exit. DeFore going to run all the way near the wall on entry to cut it down and get as straight of an exit as possible, but not able to build up a run necessary to get to the back, or to get alongside Kurgel. Lap 67 out of 200 already. Only one caution in the books. So a very clean race here at IRP, as DeFore looking to mount a charge to the inside of Kurgel, not going to be able to make it happen. Coming into turn 1. Whoa, Elijah Grant, big head of steam, almost cleared out DeFore, but had to slam it into the wall to avoid that from happening. Smart move from Grant to not take other people with him. As lost within that, Adam DeFore going to sneak his way around Tony Kurgel. So Kurgel definitely going to need to make some pit stop adjustments if he wants to be back in contention for the win. As Brian Wiggins has just gotten around Jonathan Flournoy for the 6th position. Wiggins, while passing cars, is still running about 2/10 faster than the leaders right now. There's a very real chance that Wiggins can come out with a pretty sizable lead over Sikoshi and Cope. By the time they go into pit lane. Now the last thing that they need is a caution to come out. As you can see, Justin Cope getting harassed by the 3 of Brian Wiggins. Wiggins has the pace to unlap himself on pure speed. As I thought he was going to slide into Justin Cope for just a second. As Tony Kurgel has finally jumped into pit lane along with Jason Crumley. So Kurgel definitely going to have to see what pit adjustments that he makes during the race. To free or to unchain that number 13 car, because we know he's a driver that is capable of some serious speed here in National Sim Racing. But now Brian Wiggins still working on Justin Cope, because that's really the last roadblock before he works on Mark Sikoshi. But Cope definitely giving him a fight. And this is exactly what Mark Sikoshi wants to see, is these two battling for as long as possible, because it's slowing Cope down. Cope was going from about a 10th faster than Sikoshi to equal to slower times, to a 10th slower than Sikoshi when they weren't doing battle. So very, very favorable condition for Mark Sikoshi to find himself in as the leader, and his direct competition for the time being is preoccupied battling a car on newer tires, as they're on about 42 lap fresher tires, Justin Cope is, than Brian Wiggins. And I think those tires are starting to plateau to where Wiggins is starting to get diminishing returns of grip and speed compared to Sikoshi. Well, not to Sikoshi. Compared to Sikoshi and Cope. But now Sikoshi under duress from the 26 of Wiggins, who is on much fresher tire of Robert Wiggins, who's on much fresher tires, about 64 lap fresher tires, but not able to make a move on that 8 car to give himself one of his laps back. Right now, there are only 4 cars on the lead lap, and all 4 of them have not pit yet. Ray Partridge is the last car on the lead lap. He's about 2 seconds ahead of Sakoshi, so he might get lapped sometime soon. If Sakoshi keeps up this pace, you can see at the top of the shot, Wiggins still not able to get around Justin Cope. And all this battling has definitely worn out the tires on that 3 car. So there's no doubt that he'll be able to reclaim the lead once the leaders come into pit lane. But how long will that lead last now that he would have more wear on those tires and less grip compared to completely fresh tires? Of course, with the open setups that National Sim Racing has, there's less strain on the tires than with the fixed setups, because iRacing fixed setups tend to be on the tight side and tend to burn tires. And with open setups, you can custom tune it, as we see Partridge dive into pit lane. But like I was saying, you can custom tune it so that the wear can be less pronounced. But anyway you scratch it, there's still going to be wear, and there's still going to be time lost due to tire wear. And minimizing fall off is a key strategy, especially at a track like IRP, where in most cars, even fixed or open, it is very reliant on the health of your front tires. It's very easy to burn through your front tires driving into the corner too hard, especially when you're cranking the wheel to try and keep it off of the wall. Because unlike at a bigger track, let's say Atlanta, where you can run the wall and you don't have to turn as much, here at a short track, the corners are so much shorter that you are turning essentially 90 degrees to the left if you are running the wall. So it's a definite tire game that you're playing in terms of what line you're running. As you can see, Sakoshi looks like he's trying more of a diamond. He's charging into the corner and then coming down a little bit on exit, getting right to that top seam, and then coming down just a little bit. But everyone pretty spread out right now, as we're going back to Tony Kurgel getting around the 4 of Elijah Grant. And he's got the 0-2 of Flournoy right in front of him. Now, Flournoy has not pit yet, so Kurgel is going to make light work of the 0-2. As Adam DeFore has finally jumped into pit lane. So the only 2 cars that have not pit yet are Mark Sakoshi and Justin Cope. So it really makes you think that these 2 are going to try to stretch it out towards halfway, because if my estimate is correct, that the fuel tank is probably just a little bit more than halfway here, the people who pit earlier might have to pit again, because I think that these guys are pitting as soon as they can make it towards the end to make it a one-stop race. But I think for someone like Wiggins, he might be trying to do a 2-stop strategy, as Wiggins currently in 3rd right now. Justin Cope, we have a car around. Adam DeFore has spun it and has given a lifeline to Mark Sakoshi and Justin Cope. because now they can pit without a lot of fear of dropping to the back. So let's see what happened to the four. We caught the very end of it. But we didn't see if any contact was made or if he just got caught out on fresh tires. So looking at Adam DeFore, enters pretty high into turn one, tries to get on the throttle, and that car's sideways, and it just keeps turning, and getting loose turns into a four-wheel slide as that car goes into the grass. But he locks it up in the grass. I don't think that, he didn't hit anything. So just a simple spin for Adam DeFore to bring out the second caution of the race just before halfway here. And you see Mark Sikoshi dives into pit lane. And Justin Cope pitted a lap earlier than Sikoshi. It looks like, a lap earlier while we were looking at the replay. So it looks like Cope is going to be able to take the lead. And all the cars in front of him are wave around eligible. So the 5, 29, 18, 28, and 88 look like they're all going to get a wave around. I believe Tony Kurgel, the first, will he be trapped a lap down? That is a question that I am actually quite wondering. Will the 13 be trapped a lap down as a result of this? Because he's behind the 59. Everyone in front of the 59 is going to most likely be waved around. So yes, I think unfortunately for Tony Kurgel and Jonathan Flournoy, he's going to be the first. They're going to be trapped one lap down, and it's going to be Justin Cope leading everyone to the second restart of tonight's event. And he's got a pretty sizable gap to Mark Sikoshi. He's got a couple cars in between him. But coming out of turn 4, coming to lap 95, green flag is out. Not all of the field had caught up. You can see Wiggins at the top of the shot, trying to get to the end of the field to complete his wave round, and he was one of the cars towards the front that was having issues, or that wasn't having issues, but was getting a wave around. But yeah, Justin Cope and Mark Sikoshi and Brian Wiggins, the only 3 cars on the lead lap. Tony Kurgel and beyond are all a lap down. But the top 3 all on fresh tires. So we see Jonathan Flournoy come around. The rear end is gone on that car. So maybe a cold tires moment for car 02. But let's get a replay to see what happened to the 02, and this might be the perfect opportunity for Tony Kurgel to get back on the lead lap. So Jonathan Flournoy and car 02 entering into turn 3, tries to turn it in, and I think he's on the brakes as the car crosses the seam, and that just upsets the car, and he backs it into the outside wall. So it looks like he had damage prior to that. I don't know what he got it from, but that might have impacted some of the balance on that car. And he gets it rolling and into pit lane for repairs. But that caution was the last thing that Justin Cope wanted, because that eliminated the gap of lap cars in between him and Sakoshi. So now Sakoshi, Wiggins, and then now Tony Kergel, who's getting the lucky dog right now, all on the lead lap. And it looks like we're gonna have a restart on lap 101. So when they cross the stripe for the green flag, it will be 99 laps to go. Or sorry, 100 laps to go. So exactly halfway at IRP is when we will go green flag racing again. But Tony Kergel very happy that Jonathan Flournoy went around that caution, because that gives him the lucky dog, and he's on essentially new tires. Only 9 laps on those tires as the pace car lights are off, so we will be going green flag racing this time by. The only issue for Kergel is that he has to line up at the tail end of the field as a result of getting the lucky dog. And with the field being single file restarts, that's a pretty long ways back. But Justin Cope going to lead the field to another restart here at IRP as we approach the halfway point in the Kroger 400. Green flag is out, and a great start by Cope. He gets a big jump over Mark Sakoshi, who seemed to be caught a little bit flat-footed, but able to get at least a better restart than Wiggins in third. Behind them, Robert Wiggins is a couple laps down, and there's a big gaggle of cars all behind them. You see Grant, Bittler, Reeves, and just a bunch of lap traffic that Tony Kergel in car 13 has to manage. Looks like he's going to go 3 wide. Oh, contact between Crumley, Grant, and I believe that was Partridge. Yeah, Partridge with front end damage. Things were happening so fast in that group of cars that I did not even know what was. I cannot even find the words to describe what was going on. But let's get a replay of that accident. So looking at Ray Partridge, and it looks like Jason Crumley just slides up the track, tags the quarter panel of Elijah Grant, and tries to slows down to avoid hitting Kergel, not realizing that Ray Partridge was right behind him. So Ray Partridge really had nowhere to go and nowhere to avoid that, because Jason Crumley essentially hit the brakes to avoid hitting the 13, and that gave car 29 some front end damage. So obviously not ideal for Partridge at all. But Justin Cope still the leader, and I believe, yeah, this allows Adam DeFore to get back on the lead lap with the lucky dog. But the time-old adage that cautions breed cautions is coming true. Field all bunched up, and especially people at the back end of the field having to make their way towards the front. Through slower traffic, just a recipe for aggression and contact, leading to cautions. And Adam DeFore's gonna have to start at the tail end of the field, just like Kergel did. But luckily for Kergel, got another lucky break because he got shuffled to the front. Since he got the lucky dog last time by, so he's in front of all these lap cars, and we have a four-car race for the lead right now. And then Adam DeFore at the tail end of the field. May need another caution to get back up there, but pace car is in, and we're just waiting for Justin Cope to hit the loud pedal and send us green flag racing once again, hopefully for a longer period of time. Coming out of turn 4 across the lines, green. Justin Cope gets another good start, and looks like Mark Sikoshi got a pretty good start as well. Tony Kurgel looking to the inside of Brian Wiggins to get third place. Gonna have the drive on exit side by side for third with car number 3. Both these cars very fast, and Kurgel trying to use the shortest way around the track to get the position from the third place car. Wiggins having to run that top line, almost running that top seam, as we saw Andy Reeves in the back running right close to the wall. But Brian Wiggins, for the time being, able to hold off that very hungry 13 of Tony Kurgel. Further up front, Mark Sikoshi very, very hungry to take that lead back from Justin Cope. Tried to make a couple moves on Cope, but was not able to make it stick. And now having to reassess the situation from the second place position. But he can't afford to focus on it too long, because he's got two very fast cars right behind him in Brian Wiggins and Tony Kurgel. Both of these drivers fighting to stay away from each other. And in doing that, remain pretty close to these two lead cars here. Looks like on the shorter runs, Cope doesn't have the raw speed that Sikoshi does, and Sikoshi is able to get just a great exit by cutting down the track. But Cope able to show his long run speed. Very well known for that on these broadcasts, for his long run speed. As Sikoshi drifts up the track a little bit. Now Wiggins all over his back end. So a 4-car battle for the lead. We saw Wiggins have to make an evasive maneuver to not hit Sikoshi. Sikoshi looking to the inside of Cope, but Cope's going to have the drive off. Sikoshi had to lift a little bit to not drive into the quarter panel. And now Wiggins looking to take advantage of the positive momentum that he has. Going to try to pull alongside that 8-car, using that bottom lane. Not going to be able to make it happen. Kurgel going to try the crossover behind him. Not going to be able to get close enough to make a lunge, as Sikoshi going way up close towards the wall to get a run out of the corner. Cope would really love to see Sikoshi and Brian Wiggins doing battle behind him, so he could have a little bit of breathing room and not have the 8-car all over his back bumper and breathing down his neck. But right now, for the lead, it's all single file, but all the cars within a second of each other. This top 4 has pulled away from the rest of the field. Adam DeFore, the last car on the lead lap, about 6 seconds behind these guys, having to work through a litany of lap cars. Sikoshi going to try a lower line on exit to try and make up some time to Justin Cope. Everyone running very similar lap times, but it looks like Wiggins and Kurgel running slightly faster than the top 2. But Sikoshi all over the back end of Justin Cope on exit. Wiggins hard on entry, almost gets into the back of Sikoshi, and that allows Kurgel to close the gap quite nicely to that 3-car. I thought Kurgel was going to use the bumper for a second on entry. He was just that close to tapping the back end of Wiggins. Wiggins really loose on exit, similar to how Kurgel was at the start of this race. Kurgel seems to have gotten that car under him. Might have made a track bar or wedge adjustment to try and tighten up that car a little bit on exit. But now Wiggins trying to fend off the 13 of Kurgel and doing a solid job at it right now as well. Cope getting really close to the wall and even scraping the wall down the straightaway. That car is looking like a handful to manage, especially when he's pushing it, trying to keep away from the 3 cars behind him. 81 laps to go here, a long way from home for Justin Cope in this top 4. We see Kurgel getting a little bit loose on exit. And now Wiggins looking to the inside of Sakoshi. Had a great run out of 4. To the inside comes Wiggins. He's going to try to use as much track as he can without getting into Sakoshi. Brian Wiggins going to try to cut it down on exit, but Sakoshi with a better run off the top. Almost contact made between cars 3 and 8. Now, oh, sorry. I thought my stream replay died for a second. Or did it die? I don't know. It says I'm still streaming. Anyways, sorry about that. Wiggins and Sakoshi battling it out, and Wiggins able to pull ahead of Sakoshi. Now Kurgel looking to make a move and relegate Sakoshi back to the 4th position. So now Kurgel to the inside of Sakoshi, going to get past him. So move Tony Kurgel into the 3rd spot, but Sakoshi going to try a big crossover on Kurgel, not going to be able to pull alongside car number 13. So give 3rd place to Mark Sakoshi. As okay, stream is back. Just want to make sure. It didn't die on me, but it was just my 3rd screen freezing. Anyways, 77 laps to go, and Wiggins closing in on Justin Cope. These 2 cars starting to separate from Tony Kurgel and Mark Sakoshi, as we have a battle for 6th. Reeves and Partridge going at it. Partridge got really loose right next to Reeves. Had to get out of it to not slide down into Reeves, but Partridge keeping pace with car 18 despite the damage that 29 car has. So that 29 car is still pretty fast despite a setback. Back towards the front, Brian Wiggins trying any line that he can to make up time to Justin Cope, as lap traffic starting to bring itself into the picture here. Chris Norris on the inside, letting these leaders by. Caution. As, oh, we have a caution coming out. Slow her down. Do we know? I don't know who's it for. But the caution is out. I thought it might have been Elijah Grant, but it definitely was not. So let's see what brought that caution out to break up this green flag run. So we've found what brought the caution out. Ray Partridge and Andy Reeves doing battle coming into turn 3. And I I don't know exactly what happened here, but I don't know if Partridge was trying to send a message to that 18 car, or the 18 just braked earlier than the 29 expected, but that put the 18 all sideways and into the wall, and Ray Partridge able to sneak on by. So that's what brought out the caution. Definitely gonna have the stewards look at that after the race to see what's going on with that. But everyone getting a fresh set of Goodyear tires on their Gen 4 cars as we rack them up to go once again. And Ray Partridge going to get a wave around. Now, since he was involved in the caution, he would not be getting the lucky dog. But since he's staying out, he would get a wave around to... he's staying out and he's ahead of the leaders. He would get a wave around to rejoin on the tail end of the lead lap. Looks like Jason Crumley going to get one of his laps back as well. John Bittler, many laps down, but trying to get at least one of them back. So Justin Cope still leading, but he's got a new car behind him on these restarts. The three of Brian Wiggins, who's been very fast on the short runs here, looking to shake up the running order. It's Cope, Wiggins, Kurgel, and Sakoshi and DeFore all grouped tightly together to kick us off for another restart here at IRP. Green flag is out. 68 laps to go here at IRP. And Justin Cope with a great start. Brian Wiggins caught sleeping a little bit, about 6/10 behind Cope. And now 3 wide for second place. Whoa, Sakoshi had to back out of it. Almost got into Kurgel, who was stuck in the middle of a Wiggins-Sakoshi sandwich, as now Kurgel going to look to try and get a run on that 3 car. Almost made contact with him, but he brakes early to not drill the 3 car. So Kurgel playing very nice with Wiggins. He definitely could have thrown it in there on the inside and made it stick. But wanting to play diplomat as... Whoa! Oh, no! Wiggins got loose, saved it, but he was slow, and Sakoshi did not know where he was going. And damage for car number 8. I don't think it's that heavy, but you never know how it's going to be. Let's get a replay to see what happened with Wiggins. I mean, we saw it unfold live. So looking at the 3 of Brian Wiggins, he gets on the gas too much, and that car rotates way more than it should, getting really sideways. And then it looks like he slams on the brakes to try and get it sorted out, and that sends him up the track. And Sakoshi was already tracking out of the corner, and that sends the 3 around and gives both 3 and the 8 some damage. But yeah, Mark Sakoshi pulling into pit lane here. And he's gonna, yeah, it looks like he's just gonna focus on getting that damage repair. Same with Ray Partridge. He's actually getting a new set of tires on that car since he did not get the lucky dog last time by. So the person who is getting the lucky dog, though, is going to be Andy Reeves in the 18. So Andy Reeves is going to drop to the tail end of the field once we go green, since he is the recipient of the lucky dog. But now Justin Cope still leading, but now he's got Tony Kurgel behind him. And Kurgel is very fast on fresh tires. So Cope is definitely going to have to be very aware of that 13, hungry to make a move. So let's check up on Mark Sakoshi. Still some damage on the left front of the 8 car, just pulling it into pit lane multiple times to try and get it repaired. It looks like he's gonna go a lap down. He's gonna go a lap down to get repairs done. But the lucky thing is that when he decides, as long as he doesn't get lapped again, he would get the lucky dog, since he's the first car 1 lap down. But Justin Cope leading the field once again to a restart with 62 laps to go, coming to 61 to go. Tony Kurgel hungry to make a move on that 59 car. We'll have to see what he can do. Green flag is out for another restart here at IRP. And Cope with a good start. Same with Kurgel. DeFore about 4 tenths behind that 13 car. And now Wiggins with a little bit of right rear damage, looking to move his way back through this lead group of cars. Kurgel trying to close in on that 59 car. And that car on fresh tires is as stable as can be. And he's getting a great drive on exit. And steadily closing the gap between him and the 59. Every time they get off of the corners, Mark Sakoshi is still in pit lane. Looks like he's going to try to get all of the damage repaired. So his race is essentially over. He's going about 5 laps down. And now Kurgel looking to the inside of Cope, coming into turn 1 and 2. Cope's going to have a run on exit, but Kurgel going to track out as much as he can, and he's going to stay glued to the back end of Justin Cope. Very exciting battle that we're having for the lead here. And you can see Wiggins, Brian Wiggins, has gotten past Adam DeFore for third place. So he's looking to catch up to the leaders here. I bet that he's hoping that Kurgel and Cope have a pretty drawn out battle for the lead here. That's side by side, so he can catch up and join in on the fun. 56 laps to go, and they are battling. It is 6 laps to go here at IRP for the lead. Kurgel getting great runs through the center, and he's just able to close that gap on Cope. Thought about looking to the inside, but brakes early, so he doesn't get into Justin Cope, able to hit his marks here. And Cope is really getting close to that outside wall. You can see his right rear scraping the wall on exit just a smidge, just enough to create a spark or two. This just shows how hard he's pushing that 59 car to stay in front of Kurgel. And it's paying off right now. But Kurgel with a great drive out of the corner brings himself to the back end of Cope once again. As I think Kurgel's trying to pressure Cope into making a mistake, just showing his hand and trying to get Cope to overcompensate for it, so he can sneak on by. But this battling is allowing Brian Wiggins to ever so slowly catch up to these drivers, as Kurgel's kind of stuck behind Cope right now, and Wiggins able to claw about a tenth last time by, but he's really sending it into the corners here and turning it down the track to stay in touch with the drivers ahead. But he's setting about a tenth and a half faster times doing so. And we might have a 3-car battle for the lead with 50 laps to go. If Cope and Kurgel keep playing with each other like this. As well, loose down the front stretch is Cope. Kurgel not able to take advantage just yet. I think he's looking for the perfect opportunity to strike on that 59 car, and it might just shown itself, but Kurgel not able to fully commit to that inside move, and that's going to bring Wiggins even closer to these two, as Kurgel got really squirrely on exit, almost hit the outside wall. And now all 3 cars moving towards the high line to try and get some sort of turn down the track. Kurgel gonna try to get a great run for Cope, but not able to get to his back bumper. Got really sideways on exit, and that's allowing Wiggins, who has, it seems like, a tighter car than Kurgel, to just make up increments of lap time. As Kurgel had to really slow down to not hit the wall, he's gonna bring it way down the track and catch right back up to Cope with a big run. Really makes you wonder what Kurgel's methodology is when he tries to get around Justin Cope, because sometimes you kind of have to force that perfect opportunity to strike to happen instead of applying tons of pressure and seeing what comes out of it. Especially when you have another pretty fast car behind you in Brian Wiggins to add to that pressure, as Kurgel overdrives the entry just a little bit. Lucky to not hit the outside wall, but that buys Cope a sliver of breathing room and brings Wiggins right into the fold. Also to note that Adam DeFore is not too far removed from this main group, about 6/10 behind Brian Wiggins right now. And with how hard these guys are pushing, it could definitely be a long play here for DeFore to get to hope that these guys battle and use their stuff up, as we see a big slide from Wiggins. So now we finally have some separation between the top 3 drivers, as Cope starting to encounter lap traffic. And if I was Kurgel, I'd want to be as close to Cope as possible right now to try and force Cope in and use lap cars as a pick. But Reeves scraping the outside wall. Kurgel had to get out of it. Same with Wiggins. So that compromised their exit a lot, and couldn't have played out any better for Justin Cope. Didn't have to adjust his line all too much to compensate for that 18 car, and it compromised the exit of everyone else behind him. I gave him about 2/10 of wiggle room to work with. And he's starting to add on to that now that he's got a gap behind him. You see big slide for Wiggins. Those rear tires are not holding up as well as Wiggins thought that they would. That car is getting very sideways on exit on both ends of the track. So Adam DeFore definitely licking his chops right now, looking for an opportunity to squeak past Wiggins when he gets loose again, because once you start getting loose like Kurgel just did And like Wiggins has been doing, that tire heat snowballs onto itself, and you get a looser and looser car as the race progresses. You can see Mark Sikoshi 16 laps down with a fully repaired car, trying to just finish this race, which has gone from a dream to a disaster in his hands off of just one piece of bad luck. He's going to move to the inside of Adam DeFore. And if I'm Adam DeFore, I'm going to just let Sikoshi go. And yep, smart move by Adam DeFore to not try to fight that 8 car. So now it's Sikoshi dealing with Wiggins right in front of him. So Sikoshi going to run the inside, going to have the rear grip to get a run off of the inside, and Wiggins gonna let that 8 car by. But Justin Cope remaining your leader here. Kurgel has started to close the gap though between him and Cope. Cope running all the way on the bottom, and he's going to get stuck right behind Chris Norris. Kurgel running the high line. Cope running a mix of lines that, depending on how that car is handling. Looks like he's trying a little bit of a diamond line in that middle lane to try and cut off the entry as much as possible and cut off the exit. As now Kurgel having to deal with Mark Sikoshi right behind him. Sikoshi gonna try to get around the 13. As, yeah, Kurgel really loose on exit. And Sikoshi going to squeak past the 13. Adam DeFore all over the back end of Brian Wiggins. Car number 3. And DeFore has just been very methodical. He's had a little bit of sliding, but he's maintained a solid pace. And by the end of this race, he might be able to just outlast Wiggins, especially with how loose Wiggins is getting. You saw how squirrely that car got down the front straight, and DeFore trying to rip the wall to try to get as big of a drive on exit as he possibly can. Wiggins trying to do a more defensive line by running that inside to prevent the 5 from getting there. As big wiggle from the 5 down the front straightaway. These cars definitely a handful at a short track like this, but Wiggins slides high. DeFore can cut down. He's going to try to get the run on the inside. He's going to have the shorter way around, and if he can cut down on exit a little bit right here, he might be able to squeak past that 3 car. Advantage to DeFore for the time being, as they have to make a 3-wide move on Robert Wiggins. Nicely played by both cars 3 and 5 to get around the 26, and they are still side by side for 3rd. DeFore gonna have a better drive through the center since he's on the bottom. He's gonna be able to clear Wiggins, but both cars getting really sideways down the front straightaway as you're unloading that wheel. You're putting a lot of wheel into it to get this car to turn, and getting on the gas, that banking kind of falls away, and you get all sorts of squirrely. Tony Kurgel has slid back to about 1.1 seconds behind Justin Cope, and trying to regain that back. But time is starting to run out for that 13 car. A lot of things can happen in 27 laps here at IRP, but every lap is going by at about a 23-second pace. Every 23 seconds, one more lap is removed from the pool of time that Tony Kurgel has to catch up and plan a way around that 59 car of Justin Cope. But might be made a little bit easier as Cope has to run a higher line on exit to get around the 4 of Elijah Grant. And now Tony Kurgel having to get around that 4 car as well. But he's able to take a little bit of a shallower line, and he cut a 10th off of Justin Cope just by doing that. But Justin Cope maintaining a second lead over Tony Kurgel. The last thing that I'd want to see if I was Justin Cope is that yellow flag coming out, because he's built a pretty sizable gap to the cars behind him and is able to maintain that. We haven't really seen that 59 car get very loose at all. It's been a very stable Ford Taurus, and it's paid off in spades. He hasn't had the slide down the front straight like other cars have, and it's definitely paid off in rear grip across the long run, because he's able to just keep it smooth. And if you're not sliding, those rear tires aren't going to be going away as quickly as cars who are sliding. But Tony Kurgel trying to pick up the pace. He's within a second now of Justin Cope. The 8/10 separating cars 59 and 13, first and second right now. And judging by my calculator, we have about 7.5 minutes for Justin Cope to hang on and try and ward off that number 13 behind him. Now, something to note is that Kurgel is running faster lap times than Justin Cope, and is eating into that gap that he has. But he's going to have to really push it for these next 20 laps, and might need a little bit of lapped car luck as Cope's starting to go around Chris Norris once again. I think Kurgel is going to need perfect lap car luck and no mistakes to catch that 59 car with 18 laps to go. A tough situation for Kurgel to be in, and Justin Cope just steadily either matching his times or is agonizingly slightly slower. His last time by 22.927 for Justin Cope, 23 flat for Tony Kurgel. So it's like Kurgel gains a 10th, and then Cope gains a 10th, and then back and forth. Not conducive to, if you're the second place car, to trying to catch the guy in front for the win here. Consistency is king here at IRP, and Justin Cope has definitely shown it off. He's been doing a great job of keeping the car straight and not sliding it around. Now, he scraped the wall a couple times on exit, but I think that's because he has a more tight-leaning car than a loose-leaning car. But now the gap has really ballooned. I think Kurgel overdrove turn 3, and now that gap is down, or has now expanded to 1.4 seconds between Cope and Kurgel. The only hope for Kurgel is that Cope gets stuck in this group of lap cars, but Partridge lets Cope by without too much fuss. And I have a feeling that Bittler is going to let Cope by pretty easily as well. Yeah, Bittler just pulls out of the way for Cope. So no adjustment needed for Justin Cope at all, able to continue as he was. And even Kergel was having a little bit of issues with Ray Partridge, trying to get around him, but he's able to get it done. And Adam DeFore is starting to sneak into the picture here. 12 laps to go. He's running faster than Kergel and Cope, but at the same time, he's only got 11 laps to do anything, as he overdrove turn 1, getting around Partridge. He might have something for Kergel with 11 laps to go, depending on how fast the speed difference is and how much Andy Reeves holds up that 13 car, if he does at all. Andy Reeves running his own line. I don't think he's going to get out of the way of the 3 car on entry. Looks like, or the 13 car on entry. Looks like he's not. He's actually going to overdrive the corner a little bit and get into the outside wall. This is allowing Adam DeFore to close in to the back end of Tony Kergel. But he's going to have Reeves on his outside on exit, so a lot of that time that he worked gaining on the 13 car just went away in one corner. Yeah. DeFore lost about 3/10 on the car in front just from that alone. But Justin Cope with 7 laps to go when he crosses the stripe. The finish line is in sight for him. He just does not need a caution or a mistake. And with how snug that 59 car is, it definitely seems like a mistake is just not overdriving the corner. So he just has to keep hitting his marks, because that car is not really getting any looser, it looks like. While for Kergel, looseness is a big problem for him, as he's just struggling to get speed on exit due to how loose that 13 car is. And DeFore starting to really close in once again, about 6/10 separating cars 13 and 5. You see Kergel having to correct it even down the front straightaway. It's hard to get the power down in that 13 car. With 4 laps to go, Adam DeFore looking hungry for second place here. He catches up a lot of time to Kergel. Kergel's going to get, you can see, if you look through the windshield on exit, you can see Kergel actually having to countersteer a little bit, as DeFore with a huge chunk of time closing in to Kergel for second place. But DeFore scrapes the outside wall down the front straightaway. But he's going to look to the inside of Kergel, coming out to a great move by DeFore, and Kergel scrapes the outside wall. I don't know if there was contact made between the two, but either way, Adam DeFore able to get around that 13 car and now put a solid gap between the two. And while that was going on, this has enabled Justin Cope to pull away from second place over 2 seconds of a gap between first and second, and come into the white flag here. Justin Cope has 4 more corners to navigate here at IRP to bring home his first win of the season. And it's a tale of consistency for Justin Cope. Kept it consistently straight, didn't make any mistakes, and naturally found his way to the front. It's Justin Cope coming home with the checkered flag here in the Kroger 400 at Indianapolis Raceway Park. Great win for Justin Cope as the field takes their cool down laps. Let's get your results up on the board here. Coming home in first, it's Justin Cope, and in second, Adam DeFore makes a late race charge to get past Tony Kurgel. In third, and in third it's going to be Tony Kurgel. So in fourth, outside of the podium positions, it's going to be Brian Wiggins, who slid back pretty far and finishes 8 seconds behind, or actually 11 seconds behind the leader, when at the start of the run he was a contender for the lead. But a solid fourth place finish is nothing to sneeze at. And it's going to be Ray Partridge coming back from adversity to secure a second top 5 finish this season. First car outside of the top 5 is going to be the 26 of Robert Wiggins. And in 7th, it's going to be Andy Reeves in car number 18. Chris Norris, a solid day for him. Car number 56 finishing in 8th place. Jason Crumley in 9th. And Elijah Grant in his first start gets a top 10 in car number 4. First car outside of the top 10 is going to be the 31 of James Young, who had a pretty quiet night. That kind of got doomed from the start when he got a connection flag, but he will finish in 11th. And in 12th, a heartbreaking day for Mark Sikoshi, who had a very promising start, but falls back to 12th after getting damaged midway through the race. John Bittler comes home in 13th, then followed by Jonathan Flournoy, rounding out your field of 14 drivers. Lyle Mitchell and Dylan Lansdale did not start this race. Don't go anywhere. We will have interviews with your top 3 drivers in just one moment. Please stand by. Welcome back to the Kroger 400 for the National Sim Racing Gen 4 Cup Series. The race has just concluded. Justin Cope is your winner. And let's get straight to interviews, starting off with our race winner, Justin Cope, in car number 59, taking home the win here at Lucas Oil Indianapolis Raceway Park. You got a copy?
Yeah, man, I got you.
So, from what I saw throughout the race, it looks like consistency was your game. I didn't see you get loose once, so I had to wonder, was your car tighter more than loose? Because we saw a lot of the field getting loose down the straights, and we saw you actually tracking out enough to scrape the wall a couple of times down the back straight, so it made me figure that your car was leaning more tight than loose.
Well, at first then it was a little tight, but we loosened it up on that pit stop, and man, after that it was like glue. It was glued to the track, and I could really get on the gas on corner exit and really haul out of there for me. But it worked out pretty good though.
So everyone knows that with IRP, pretty much any lane is viable. I wanted to know what your favorite lane was to race throughout the duration of this race, because we saw you move from top to bottom, but mostly stayed towards the middle.
Yeah, I tried to stay in the middle, to start the run, just trying to not necessarily block, but play a little bit of defense. I mean, it's so hard to pass here, and if you let somebody in front of you, it's gonna be a mess trying to get back around them. But later in the run, my car really would come in about 20 laps in or so, and I'd move to the bottom. It was just I don't know, I liked it better down there. I mean,
So yeah, I mean, I liked it better down there, and you ended up with the win. So you had to be doing something right. So before we let you go and celebrate your win just a little bit more, do you have any people or sponsors you'd like to thank?
yeah, give a shout out to my teammate Jason Crumley, Powerhouse Motorsports, and all the guys that showed up tonight. And appreciate the broadcast, man.
Well, that's Justin Cope coming home victorious here at IRP. We look forward to seeing you next week.
All right, man.
All right, and coming home in second, it's going to be Adam DeFore, driver of car number 5. Let's get him into the booth. Adam DeFore, car number 5, coming home in second place. You got a copy?
Yeah, man, I got you.
So late in that run, we saw you have some serious speed. What was your strategy for that last run that eventually resulted in you coming out with a very strong second place finish?
Just really tire management. Like after that second or third pit stop, I think, I took 4 tires along with everybody else, and I just took care of them the best I could. Just kind of rode behind lap cars, just ate the laps away, and just tried to save my tires best I could.
So next week we're going to Legacy, Texas, which is a heck of a lot different than a unique little short track like IRP is. How you feeling about your pace going into that weekend? Because you've had a lot of pace here. We've seen you have a lot of pace on the bigger tracks last season. So I want to know how you're feeling with that matchup next weekend. You still here? Uh, Something happened to him? Not hearing anything from him. I don't know if it's something on his end. Hey, coming home in third, it's Tony Kurgel. You got a copy?
Yes, sir.
All right. So it's not my end. Something happened with Adam's microphone. Anyways, you had a very strong short run car, it looked like, but over the course of the run, that car was all sorts of sideways. We saw you slide in on exit and down the front straightaway. Just how loose was that car?
She was killer coming off the corners. She did not want to drive straight, but she was fast, so I dealt with it.
And yeah, knowing that you had a really fast but pretty loose car on the long runs, was your strategy towards the end of the race to try and get the lead and hold it for as much as possible? Because we saw you being a little tentative on entry when it came to trying to work around Justin Cope, and eventually he just started to pull away from you. So I want to know what your strategy was.
I was kind of hoping to make him overdrive the corner and see if I could make him use up his tires a bit more than I was, but I must have just been using a bit more uh, tire, or my setup was using a bit more tire than his. I was just hoping I could get him to keep overdriving the corner, and eventually I could get around him if he slipped up and hit the wall or something. But his car just had a lot of long run speed, could keep the tire on it a lot more than I could.
Yeah, he was saying that after he made a pit stop adjustment, it was just sticking like glue. But before we let you go and ride the momentum of a top 3 finish here at IRP into Texas 2009 next week, do you have any people or sponsors you want to thank before we let you go?
Just got to thank the guys for putting the races on every week, and got to thank everybody for showing up today. It was a great race. It was great to not have 15 cautions, and yeah, have good long green flag runs. I got to thank everybody for that.
Well, that's words of a champion, Tony Kurgel, last season's champion and 3rd place tonight here at IRP. We look forward to seeing you next week.
Thank you so much. I'll be there.
All right, and let's see if we can get contact back with Adam DeFore. All right, Adam DeFore, can you hear me? Oh. He was in the broadcast booth, and then something happened with him. I'll give him about 30 or so seconds to rejoin, if that's possible. But yeah, a great race that we had here at IRP. I think this is a great track for racing in any capacity, with how unique and how varied the lines run are. But definitely was excited to see it on the schedule. And I even kind of wanted to race it myself because I thought this would have been a lot of fun. But I just did not have the means to set up a replacement broadcast in time. So figured that I would bite the bullet and broadcast this very fun race. And I'm very glad that I did. But it seems like Adam DeFore is not going to be able to rejoin the broadcast booth or the post-race interview booth. So we will wrap things up right here. Thank you for watching the National Sim Racing Gen 4 Cup Series Kroger 500 here at IRP. Very glad to have you here for tonight's event. A very fun race that we were able to witness. National Sim Racing always delivering in the quality of their races. Big thank you to our sponsor, IRD Racing. Not possible without them. Thank you to David at Fireball Talks NASCAR for allowing me to broadcast this series on his channel. Thank you to SKS Graphics and Andrew Schulte. SKS Graphics, if you need ticker help, contact them and Andrew Schulte. You'll be getting a good quality product for the price. Trust me. Their work has helped me out so much. And a big thank you to you, the viewer, for watching. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Garrett Hess. You're watching Fireball Talks NASCAR. And next week, at the same time as always, we'll be going to 2009 Texas for the 3rd round of the 2026 B season. I hope to see you there. And y'all take it easy.